Fedora Project, and this is our Fedora Council video meeting. This is the third time we've done this, and basically we wanted to have start getting the routine of doing check-ins with different parts of the project and have kind of semi-formal reports from different areas of the project so that we can all communicate better about what's going on and share our needs and those sort of things. So today we have Mike Ruckman from Fedora QA sharing about Fedora QA, their quality assurance team that basically makes sure that when the bits go out to you, they're, for the most part, not broken. And so there's the introduction. Take it away, Mike.
All right. Apologies if you hear my dog barking in the background. She's going crazy out there. Can everybody see my slides?
Yeah, slides are good. Dog is good.
Okay, good. Well, I'm Mike Ruckman. I think I have a job title somewhere, but I just go with doer of things. I work with the QA team and then also the cloud working group. And that's me, so we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to go over the current state of QA and what the team's working on, any future plans that we're either thinking about or are currently working on, and then finally a list of stuff we would like that would make our lives in the land of quality assurance better. So right now, excuse me, just a second.
And then Mike was eaten by dogs. Dead air. Langdon, are you on the beach? Can you share your beautiful vista from Southie?
My apologies. Someone came to the door.
All right. Okay. We're back.
All right, I am on the beach now. Can you guys see it?
Awesome.
There you go.
It looks lovely and gray.
Sweet. All right. Again, apologies about that. So, current state. Right now, Adam sent out an email with some of his points and getting information back from the QA team as far as how things were going. Is we've got a really well-known and pretty well understood release validation process. Everybody basically knows where to go to get test candidates and release candidates and where our tests live and how to execute and report on those tests, which makes it so that we can get the minimum amount of testing done that we need to pretty easily, and we'll get into, and that kind of touches on some of the stuff that we would like. But right now, getting the base validation of the images that we push out is a well-known and pretty well-oiled process. Also, on the same note is our updates testing. We have a pretty well-documented way of testing updates to packages as they go into Bodhi, and we've got a couple really cool tools. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with Fedora Easy Karma, which is a CLI application that will see what all you have installed and what all updates are pending that need Karma, and gives you a nice interface with which to run your tests on those packages and provide Karma right there from the CLI. And then the sister or uncle project to that is Fedora GUI Karma, which is Fedora Easy Karma, but with a GUI. So you have Windows, and you can select the updates that you want to look at and test, and also provide Karma from there. The thing that we don't have and have noticed is older, like our releases that are getting ready to reach end of life, obviously end up getting less of their updates tested. So we kind of have a lack of people to do the testing in order to get all of the packages updated, or upvoted or downvoted depending on how the update went. But the process is solid, and now we just need to find a good way to funnel more people into doing it. And it's really easy to work into your daily workflow. Most of us QA folks, I think, periodically throughout the week will run Fedora Easy Karma or Fedora GUI Karma on whatever packages we happen to use on a day-to-day basis. So at least those get pretty solid testing all the time. And right now, Taskatron has replaced Auto QA. Like, there's a lot of work going on in Taskatron, but it's all kind of under the hood behind the scenes. So not a lot of people know exactly what's going on with Taskatron, because the stuff that they're working on right now, once it's done, is going to provide a lot of new, really good, useful functionality as far as automating a lot of our tests. And, you know, so Tim Flink and Martin and Camille are all working hard on getting that working. And they've got a pretty well-defined roadmap on what they're trying to work on. And I know Tim has started and is going to continue writing some more update blog posts. That way people can kind of see into the project and know what's being worked on. I'm on the wrong one. And throughout Fedora 22, we were testing. It's a tool from OpenSUSE called OpenQA, and it allows for the automation of installation testing. The TLDR on how it works is it spins up a VM and then analyzes a screenshot of the installation as it's happening. And it uses something called needles to say, look for this button in this area. And we have some of our tests are now running in OpenQA. We don't have a public instance running right now, but it has been reporting results. If you guys look at the test matrices at all, you'll see a user named Coconut that has been reporting results, and that is OpenQA. And I know Adam is working on getting all of the relevant bits packaged and into Fedora, because right now it's actually running on an OpenSUSE box. But once we get everything packaged and can migrate that, over to Fedora, we really want to take that and expand it, because then we would be able to get more than just the base validation testing done, and it would enable us to catch errors sooner and then also free up time from manual testing into doing more exploratory testing. Also, one thing that we've noticed is right now with changes, we generally only have the time and the resources to cherry pick what looks like the most obviously potential disruptors in a change. And then, we can get some testing done on that change, but we rarely get the chance to go through each of the changes and test them really thoroughly, just due to a lack of, manpower and time. All right, future plans. We kind of touched on some of this a little bit, but we got a bunch of stuff in the pipeline and a bunch of stuff that we're working on and trying to get into place so that we can use it to make our testing more complete and catch errors a lot sooner, and potentially not slip as much. So going back to Taskatron, the three things that they're working on right now is disposable clients, which at this point what it does is it will boot a cloud image in a VM and then insert all of the required stuff for the Taskatron task, and it will run that task and then report the results back to the host where the VM was run. And right now we're still just out of the proof of concept stage, but eventually this should enable us to do a lot more automated, like, desktop tests. I know GNOME has a test suite that we think we should be able to, at some point, in the next couple years, be able to have all of the scaffolding in place that we need in order to run all of those kinds of tests automatically. Also, Fed message integration, because right now I think Martin is working on getting Taskatron to the point where it can emit messages, and as I understand it, Tascatron has already been working where it listens for messages with its with Tascatron trigger, and then once it finds that there's a new update, it will run the depth check tests on the package based on the notification from Fed message. So now we're trying to get the two-way communication to the Fed message bus working. And then the third thing is dist-git style tasks. And what this means is, right now the tasks that Tascatron can run are fairly limited, but the end goal that they're trying to get to is, we'll have a repository of tasks that Tascatron can run, and when someone writes a task, they can send a pull request with their task, and then Tascatron will sync that repo and then also be able to run that task. But it should be easy for developers to write tasks on their local machine and then push it to Git and then have Tascatron start to pick them up. We also want to extend open QA testing. Right now Adam has an instance running, and then we've got one running internally, but we don't have it public yet, so we'd like to extend that framework a little bit more and make it be public and help people be able to write test cases for OpenQA, which will, we should be able to get almost all of our installation testing into OpenQA, which that's the part that takes the longest to test. I hesitate to think how many Fedora installations I've done in the past year, not even counting virtual machines, but just bare metal. And OpenQA should alleviate a lot of that. And once we have those test cases in there, then it's maintenance on test cases as Anaconda changes, but the core logic of those automated tests should stay the same and really free up a lot of time for us to work on other stuff. One thing that I know Adam has been chatting with release engineering about, and he said it'll probably come up at Flock, is kind of streamlining our test compose, release compose process. Some of the stuff that has become a staple of the process wasn't initially intended as being a permanent fixture of the process, such as having to do the stable push requests and whatnot. So, they're working to refine that process a little bit more and, get almost to a continuous integration type testing and release process to kick things out. And, he should be back sometime in the next couple of days. I forget exactly when he gets back from PTO, but he's going to have more information. I know those conversations are ongoing. And then also just in general, increased test coverage with OpenQA and Tascatron. Once we get those things up and running, we're going to be able to write more tests to test more things. Like right now, for example, the test cases for the cloud image, I basically took the base test cases that we use for desktop and server and applied them to cloud with some small tweaks. Which is basically, can I install packages? Can I update packages? Is SE Linux enforcing? Is logging working? It's the bare bones, bare minimum to say that you have a working system. One place that I would definitely like to have more coverage put into place is on Cloud Init. When I was working with Dusty and the DigitalOcean team to get Fedora 22 up on their service, I noticed that certain directives inside Cloud Init weren't working, and it turns out that there's a bug between Cloud Init and DNF with permissions issues on installing as an instance boots up, and it's not relegated to just the DigitalOcean service. It's on all of our instances. So if you tell Cloud Init to install a bunch of packages and do stuff, it will fail and crash. And I'd like to have that get more testing, and any of the other core infrastructure bits that go with a specific flavor or addition get really solid coverage. And then, open QA, like as we come up with more, test cases and test coverage for, server and workstation, we should be able to put those inside open QA or Taskatron, and get more and more coverage of all of the stuff that needs covered that we've been doing manually. And manually is great, but it's a lot easier to miss a check or to not notice something. So getting those two systems up and running and being able to increase the amount of test cases that we have running in an automated fashion is going to make everybody's lives a whole lot easier. All right, things we would like. Bodhi 2.0. This is going to help with our updates testing, and as I understand it, I haven't actually seen the code or dug too deep into it, but I understand that a lot of the integration that we currently have, like for instance Taskatron and its depth check tests of leaving comments on updates is more of a patch to make it work, as opposed to an API that you can call reliably and get something done. So we've got a lot of code that's doing stuff where there's dragons and monkey patches, and having Bodhi 2.0 is going to let us clean a lot of that out and be able to streamline the process a lot better. It's not a need, it's not breaking anything, but having that is really going to help streamline pretty much all of QA, since we rely on Bodhi for so much. And then along the lines of refining the test compose and release compose process is better synchronization with release engineering. Right now, we rely on release engineering in order to get us the images, in order for us to test, and having good synchronization between those two teams is going to really make things a lot easier. I know a lot of us are kind of filling a putty role, which is you use putty to fill gaps, and if we could streamline some of those processes and make it a bit easier, then I think it would make life easier for both everybody on the release engineering team and then also QA. Eventually, we're going to need package maintainers to help run their packages through the Taskatron gauntlet and provide feedback on Taskatron, so that we can make it easy for people to integrate, to get their packages into it, to get their test cases into it, and get some of the features that they're working on now in a more public-facing domain. That way, we can do more work and be able to get it ready for production, and not just replacing Auto QA, but Taskatron as a framework is going to be able to do a lot more. Like it's not a testing framework. It's meant to run tasks, and one of those tasks can and will be testing, but we should be able to leverage the framework that the QA devil guys are working on in order to make Taskatron do a whole lot more. And I think once we see that come to fruition, we'll see a lot of benefits in both places that we knew we would see benefits, and then I expect to see benefits in other places that we weren't really expecting. And then finally, even more testing from the other working groups. I've been working with the cloud folks to make sure that the cloud image is getting tested, and we need to increase the test cases that we have. But having the work groups, the people who are building and depending on the addition or the flavor that they're working on and they're contributing to, will help ensure that we have a better release. We'll have more testing from the QA side, and then it should generally make everybody happier. The more testing that we have, the more errors we can find, and the more stuff that we can fix. With that, I open it up for questions.
Sure, I've got a little bit. I'm kind of curious about the dist get thing you talked about, and for background for people who don't know what dist-git is, if anybody's watching this who isn't deep into that part of Fedora, dist-git is basically a series of source control repositories for the packaging side of Fedora. So when we package up some software, it goes into a Git repo that various packagers can access, all the maintainers for that package, and also a set of proven packagers who can access any package. And so dist-git for Taskotron, the analogy, I guess, is that there'll be repositories for a package where people can create tests for that package, and probably some sort of proven QA people that can edit all of the tests. Is that the idea?
That's how I understand the vision to be, is to attempt to utilize the same workflow to decrease the learning curve. If people are familiar with dist-git, and how we use it, if we can have the same workflow with tasks in Taskotron, then it'll be a lot easier for people to get on board and build tasks for it.
I am very excited about that. Do you have an idea what the roadmap for that is, or what's needed to make that happen?
Right now, they're not. As I understand it from the devs working on Taskotron, like I'm working with Tim on the disposable clients bit, because that's actually running Test Cloud, the tool that I wrote in order to boot and test cloud images locally. Like that's what we're using for the disposable clients right now. And right now it's just time to suss out all of the features that we need and make sure that all of the code is well tested and written and does what it needs. They're not blocked on waiting on another team or waiting for something. It's just right now they're in heads down development mode. And I don't have a time. Tim would be able to give you a better time frame, and when at what point he expects what milestones to potentially be done.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense for the disposable clients to come first, because if people are writing crazy arbitrary tests, we probably want most of them to go in disposable clients.
Yeah, that's the plan. Is having disposable clients will allow them to. There's up until now, Taskotron can't run any tests that are destructive because it runs on, I think it's a build bot machine, and any destructive tests would destroy that machine. So once we have the disposable clients, you can have a test that is, rm/rf/, and you're not actually going to ruin anything. You're just going to get a test failure.
Part of the fun with testing arbitrary things is you never know which one is going to be a destructive test until
exactly. So, but yeah, that's it as far as I understand it. I have a little bit of insight into how what Taskotron is, what that team is working on, but most of the stuff that I've been working on is trying to help with documentation and the disposable clients.
I know there was some talk a while ago about having a test matrix thing other than the wiki. Has that gone anywhere? Is there any more talk about that? Or are we?
That yeah, Adam has written a couple command line tools that is basically a CLI for the wiki.
Yeah, those scare me very much.
Oh yeah, and we are all well aware of the frighteningness that is wiki munging. But right now, we've taken a tool that isn't meant for managing test cases and results, and we've done a really good job of getting that square peg to fit in that round hole. And we've looked at a couple other solutions, but none of them have quite fit our workflow. And I think we had a brainstorming session a while back about the features that we would want in a TCMS or a test case management system, and no real work aside from Wiki TCMS and RailVal that Adam wrote. And right now, RailVal can post results. It can run some of the image sanity checks, and then it's also used to whenever if we just released, let's say, TC1 of Fedora 23, RailVal is used to create all of the wiki pages with the matrices. And in between releases, occasionally once we had a build of Rawhide that we knew contained something that needed tested, like a new version of Anaconda or something, we would spin up a Rawhide test page and then report results against that to catch anything before we branched.
So those wiki pages are created programmatically, basically, initially.
Yeah, well, and up until I think 6 months ago, they were all created by hand. So now it's one command instead of copying 10 different templates into 10 new pages. But having a TCMS that fits our workflow is definitely something that we would like, but it's a fire that we have, but it's not close enough in proximity that anybody's really had time to put it out yet.
Yeah, I know how that goes. Yeah, it's just one of those things, like whenever I do a test, because I don't do the contribute to QA very much, but every now and then I do, and when I do, I'm always a little bit scared that I'm going to mess up the wiki page because it's a bunch of tables that seem kind of fragile.
Well, and that's one good thing about the wiki is if anything ever breaks it, it's really easy to revert. Like MediaWiki makes it really hard to actually destroy things. There's been plenty of times where I had to go back and revert a change because I put a bracket in the wrong place or something like that.
So I guess the takeaway there for potential contributors is, although it looks kind of scary, don't be too scared. You can't break things.
Yeah, you can't really break it, and all of us QA guys who've been doing this for a long time still make those errors every now and again. It's always fixable, and we are always willing to help.
Cool. Anyone else have any questions?
Sorry, this is Langdon. I had some previous questions and general question about, have you guys looked any more at considering some of the behavior-oriented test models?
If we have, I haven't been in on any of those conversations. I mean, I'm happy to talk about it and learn. I'm not familiar with that, so yeah. I mean, if we want to open that conversation, we're all open for new and better ways, or changes in the ways that we're doing it in order to get better test coverage.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll follow up externally.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, I've done some work. I had spitballed a tool to make it easier to run through all of our test cases, because once I had kind of got my feet on the ground, I realized that through one installation I could run 5 to 10 unique tests on that one machine, whereas before I'd been going through an installation, doing one test, and then doing the installation again for the next test. So I'd written a tool to kind of streamline that a little bit, but I didn't get a whole lot of feedback on it. But that's something I'd definitely be open to reviving at some point. But did that answer your question?
Yep. Sorry, struggling to find the mute button. Yeah, no, definitely. And like I said, we can follow up offline. I was just kind of curious, if you guys were thinking about that. I guess the only other question is, are there more better ways, speaking good English, that we can definitely encourage more typical, average everyday users to be contributing more information back? I guess the kind of wider question is, is ABRT helping, getting feedback through, or is that, I guess I'm not sure where you consider QA team's line to fall, particularly regarding end user failure report.
Yeah. Well, abort is definitely which is what I call it. I could be saying it wrong. I've only ever seen it written. But abort is what we rely on it pretty heavily to get good logs when we run into crashes, because it just automatically gathers everything that we need into one place. But I would say, if we had some more, we could use some more visibility on tools like Fedora Easy Karma, because I mean it's pure Python. It's Python it's Python and it interfaces with Bugzilla or and Bodhi, so anybody can run it on an existing system and it's not going to break anything. All it does is analyze the packages you have installed and tell you what you can test. So end users I think would find it easy, if they wanted to test, a new Firefox build or new bits of GNOME, and then they could leave feedback. That would be really helpful in getting the updates testing done. And a lot of times when we have someone who's interested in QA and doesn't know where to start, that's usually one of the places that we'll point them is updates testing, because it's got a really low barrier to entry, but I don't know that a lot of people know that it's there.
Right, exactly.
So, most of us in QA, everybody I've talked to is, if a new user has a question or wants to help, we even if they end up wanting to do something outside of QA, we will find a place for them to plug themselves in and get integrated into Fedora. I mean, I like having more testers, but if I got somebody who only cares so about testing, but they really want to get into marketing or docs, I'm going to send them right over to marketing and docs and make sure they have all the stuff that they need.
Cool. I just made a note to plug Easy Karma and 5 Things in Fedora this week.
Awesome.
This week or another time.
I was actually just searching the Fedora magazine. There's no article that I can find that talks about Easy Karma. The only thing it's kind of, yeah. So, a blog post would help, but maybe not from you guys. I don't know.
Yeah, a magazine article on it entirely wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, I think it could be really useful, and then also, to people who don't quite realize how many packages and how many software tools they use just going through, even if their use cases just online, it really kind of opens your eyes into all of the stuff that you're like, oh wow, I didn't realize I was running all of this stuff in the background.
Okay, I have an entirely different question from a totally different direction.
Okay.
Bundled updates, something that we've been kind of kicking around from in Flock and things from the last couple of years. Has there been any thought about that recently in the QA team? And to put you on the spot, what do you think about that in general?
So when you say bundled updates, you mean
batch?
20 different packages have been updated, so we push them all out as one?
Yeah, and say basically, unless it's a security fix, we don't push them out nightly, but we wait till every 2 weeks or monthly or something like that.
As far as I know, we haven't had any specific discussions about that recently in our meetings. But on the spot, off the top of my head, me with my QA hat on, I would think that the biggest thing to watch out for with that is just making sure that there's at least some form of testing on the bundle itself, whether that's Taskatron or manual testing. And I can see arguments for pushing them out on a daily basis, and I can see arguments for pushing them out, in bundles. But I think the bundles would probably be the easier one to test. If we had almost like a freeze period for bundled updates, so we had 2 or 3 days to run through the tests on those packages before pushing them out. But I don't know, that's also more procedural overhead, and comes with its own list of fun times that we'd have to manage.
Yes, fun times. Yeah, I think it would be highly dependent on automated testing, unless we can suddenly get a whole bunch more people excited about doing that QA on top of the QA we already do.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think in the proposal I heard, there would also be a daily stream where updates testing would stay, maybe a thing in between updates testing and then updates, daily, and then then the batch updates as a separate repository or at least separate metadata.
So updates, updates piecemeal and updates fire hose.
Exactly. Exactly. Or updates collected or something better than piecemeal.
Yeah, I think that just at this point what we have is working, and without really knowing the overhead that would cause, I think having our automated tools and being able to get more automated tooling in place will be kind of like the key factor in whether we can manage that or not.
Okay, cool. It's definitely one of the things I hear from people. Fedora has too much change within the release, and that fire hose you talked about. There's a fire hose
Yeah.
updates, and if we could do something to help manage that, I think users would appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that could work. I don't haven't thought of any implementation details in my head, but on its face, it sounds like it could be a tenable plan.
It also kind of fits with the updated cloud images we've been talking about, but not doing for a long time. The idea we'd respin the actual image-based releases, and then ideally we'd respin them, when there's a batch, and respin them with that QA batch,
Right.
and bring the quality of a release to the periodic updates.
Well, I think the tools and the QA release engineering synchronization will help with being in the increased test coverage, like on cloud init. So when we do spin a new updated version, we can get through those tests in a timely fashion, and I think all of those will work together to really help make that less of a thing that we do and is painful, and more of something that it's like, yay, sweet, we have another update and it's tested and it's good, let's go.
Yeah, that's a good threshold for doing something like this. We wanted to make it feel like it's another great new thing we feel good about, rather than, oh crap, someone's dumped a bunch more work onto us.
Yeah.
Hey, anybody else have questions? Any questions from IRC? If not, that's okay. We don't have to stretch this out to a full hour. I think that was nice and informative, and I very much appreciate the update, Mike.
Oh yeah, no problem. I hope I was worried about filling the time, but I also didn't want to filibuster the council meeting.
Yeah, no, I think this was a great use of half an hour, and I think actually more brevity is actually better for people's attention spans. You have a better chance of people watching through to this far than a longer one, anyways. Anybody else have anything on any other topics we should cover real quick now?
I just had a quick comment on IRC. Roshi, any chance you could, I don't know if you're on the IRC channel, but could you just do like pound links on all the things you mentioned, like Coconut, Easy Karma GUI, I'm not sure what else you said, but maybe just so somebody reading the recap can find the things you mentioned?
Yeah, I can do that. I'll go through and try to get everything that I mentioned, and where would the best place to put that be?
If you can just, if you're in the Fedora meeting channel and you can just info and link them, then I'm going to post that meeting notes to Fedora Council, and then also probably to 5 Things in Fedora this week.
Okay.
And even better when I think that's the easy one we can do for now. But I look forward to your blog post for Fedora Magazine outlining some of these as well. No pressure.
Or
yeah, just make sure we don't,
from the QA team.
Well, just make sure we don't close the Meetbot meeting. That way the links get picked up, and I'll let Remy know when I've linked everything, and then we can close it out.
Okay, cool. Thanks again, and signing off. Bye, everybody.
No problem. Have a good day.